Alright, this is John Kohler with OKRaw.com. Today we have another exciting episode for you. We're coming at you from the 2014 Woodstock Fruit Festival. I'm having a great time here. There's so many different presentations, and I know for many of you guys were not able to come to the Woodstock Fruit Festival. I've actually pulling aside just a few of the different speakers and having them share some of the knowledge that they've shared in their 1 hour plus long presentations that they're giving here. One of the people that I really look up to here is actually Don Bennett, DAS. He's been into a raw food, fruit-based diet for over 20 years now. You can learn more about him on his website, health101.org. And today what we're going to simply talk to Don about is something that's very important to me that he's researched that nobody else here simply is talking about, and it's important for you guys to know this knowledge as well. It's how to deal with conflicting health information. He gives a whole hour-long presentation and goes over all kinds of different points. We don't have the time for that today to share with you guys, but what we will do today is Don will share 3 of the most important tips for dealing with conflicting health information. I know you may be hearing on YouTube that, hey, this diet of the raw foods diet's better, or eat this way or eat that way, and there's so much like, what do you do? Who do you listen to, right? Is this guy right? Is that girl wrong? So Don, how do you deal with this stuff? Top 3 ways.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's just, my recent book is all about conflicting information. It's the 80 most top pieces of incorrect, misinformative nonsense that's out there. And it's a shame that there's so much. But unless you've been living in a cave eating a raw food diet, you've run into this someplace. So the top 3 ways of dealing with it is, 1, when you're researching and looking into how or what way to do a raw food diet, do it as a researcher. Be a researcher, don't be a student. Students tend to not question what they're being taught. They may ask questions of clarification, but they don't tend to question what the teacher is teaching them. As with anything else, I mean, if you're learning, automotive repair, that's fine, be a student. But if it's your health you're talking about, that's pretty serious stuff. So do it as a researcher. Researchers question everything. That's just what they do. It's nothing personal, that's just what they do. They question everything. So you want to question everything, so if there are any pieces of conflicting information, you find them. Another tip is to, when you find conflicting information, your first initial reaction is, oh man, I don't want there to be any contradictory information here. I just want to be learning what the truth is. Well, so that means when you find conflicting information, be happy actually, because you know that now the truth is in there someplace. It may not have been what you were following before. It may have been, but it may not have been. And if it wasn't, you should want to know about that. So embrace the conflicting information. And the third tip is multi-source education. John, multi-source education. There are a bunch of programs out there for vegan eating and raw food eating and stuff like that. And some of them are some of them are and some of them are pretty darn good. But even the best of them are not perfect. Why? 2 words, human nature. It's just what it is. So since there are no perfect programs out there with fully 100% accurate information, I mean, if a program has 95% accurate information, that's much better than getting your health knowledge from the medical industry, except for emergency care. I like emergency care and trauma care and poison control. But in general, you have programs out there for the raw food diet that have 95% correct information, and that's great. But what if that 5% incorrect information could mean the difference between you thriving and surviving when you're 60 or 70? Yeah, that's huge. You want to thrive. You don't want to survive. And if you get to that point and realize what I did wasn't working, you're not going to have a time machine to go back to 2014 and try something different. Maybe it'll work better. So you really got to make good choices now. So multi-source education just means look at different programs. If you find 3 raw food programs and there's a certain category and they're all saying the same thing, well, then that's probably true. But if there's some differences, well, now you got to look at the differences and see, okay, what's the differences? Why are some people saying this? And that's what I discussed in my new book. Why all the conflicting information? Not just what is it. It's important to know why it exists and what is that aspect about human nature that causes it. Once you have an understanding of why and what and who and all that stuff, you'll be able to get, again, this is assuming that you're looking for optimal health. If you're not looking for optimal health, if you're just looking for slightly improved health, well, then it doesn't matter almost what you follow. Most raw food programs will give you initial improvements in your health. But if you want optimal health, the best health that your genetics can allow you to have, you need 100% accurate information. Logic dictates that. So that's why you need multi-source education to look at different programs, different teachers, to find what they all agree on, and especially what they don't agree on and why.
Yeah, I mean, definitely agree with multi-source education as much as I like my information, but you know, the information that I teach and share with you guys works for me, and I'm not going to say it's going to work for anybody else. I know that what I do works for me, and I've researched a lot of this stuff myself, so I come up with my own answers. But you know, on a majority of the stuff, me and Don agree, but there's things that we don't agree with, and that's all right, because he's doing his thing, I'm doing my thing, and we're just going on with our lives and focusing on things that we have in common. So in any case, Don, I know you have a lot of other ways to deal with conflicting information. You even wrote that book. How can somebody get that book if they're really serious about getting optimal health? I mean, if you're not serious about optimal health, don't even bother in getting Don's book, but if you're serious about it, you want to pick up this book, learn about it, and read it cover to cover.
Yeah, it's my third book. It's my most recent book. See, you have to understand something. I've been anytime I come across a piece of misinformation, John, I go to my computer. I'm usually at the computer. That's where I find it, right? And I just put it in a file called misinformation.doc. So I just put it in there, and I've been doing it for 10 years. And finally, something happened recently where I saw just a real bad piece of misinformation where I knew, because of my knowledge, that it's going to have a lot of people not thriving. And that was the straw that broke the camel's back, so to speak. I just couldn't take it anymore. I said, all right, I have to take this file and turn it into a book. And it took me only a week to do it. That's how motivated I was to make this book. So, I mean, it was written over a 10-year period, but now it became a book. I never thought I'd make it into a book. I just wanted to track all the misinformation. And then when I started to realize, there's just, wow, look at the boatloads of this stuff. So it's in a book. It's called What Can Do You the Most Harm Is What You Know That Isn't So. And you can find it on my website, health101.org.
Awesome, Don. All right, so I hope you guys enjoyed this episode, learning how to deal with conflicting information. There's a lot out there, especially on YouTube. You know, one person says one thing, one person says another thing. Use some of the techniques that you've learned today with Don. Become smart. Once again, you know, the biggest thing for me is become a researcher. You know, instead of a student, question everything. You know, verify, check from different sources, and be happy about conflicting information, because this is going to allow you to get the proper information so that you can improve your health in the long run. So I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Once again, this is John Kohler from OKRaw.com. We'll see you next time. And remember, keep eating your fresh fruits and vegetables. They're always the best. All right, this is John Kohler with OKRaw.com. Today we have another exciting episode for you. And this episode is going to be a short one of that. The question is, I got a nice horse here. Where does the horse get its protein? I mean, this thing towers over me. It's super huge. If we look in its mouth, and I'm not going to open up,